Hello guys, welcome to the second episode of Garam Masalah. This is a podcast spicier than your grandma's secret sambal recipe, where we talk about Malaysia things that you might not know but you should. I am your host today, Hazel, and my co-host
Ep2, and thank you for joining us today. So Hazel, how was your Raya?
My god, Ortu, do you realize before Raya, the puasa, the heat wave was so teruk?
Yeah. I mean, I have to admit that even a lot of us who are puasa or doing puasa, it was so bad. I mean, I was at one day I almost break fast during the day, but because old men cannot do that, otherwise van jenazah, so I had to go through. But it's getting worse and worse right now, right?
You think it's related to climate change ka?
Well, of course, because heat, the weather is climate, so it's changing, so climate change lah. This is of course O2 punya logic, but I think we have someone who is better suited to answer this question.
Yeah, so the question of the day is climate change in Malaysia really that bad? And to answer our question today, we invited Aidil.
Hi, Hazel. Hi,
Thank
hello.
you.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here, of course, and hopefully you can shed some light on the heat and the things that are happening that we don't really understand.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
today,
hopefully you also, if you don't believe, then listen to this guy. If you are a non-believer of climate change, you should watch this as well.
Today I'm wearing like a student also because I'm here to educate myself more about the environment.
Not a good choice to wear black though.
Yeah.
On such a sunny day. But
I
yes.
look good in black.
Okay.
So Aidil, could you please introduce yourself to us a bit for the audience to know more about you?
So my name is Aidil Iman bin Aidit. I am 25 years old.
Very young.
Yes. And I currently am pursuing my bachelor's degree at the University of Malaya, doing my bachelor's in international and strategic studies, but specializing in environmental studies. So I've been doing environmental activism for about 5 years, 6 years. I started when I was 19 years old. My first exposure to climate justice was at the climate strike rally at Dataran Merdeka in 2019, I believe, where we protested against the transboundary haze pollution that was happening in Malaysia and the whole ASEAN region, basically. And so far, it has been a great journey, and I'm happy to educate young people. I'm happy to educate Malaysians in general about climate change. It is a crisis, and I think the past heat waves and the floods in Malaysia have proven that it is a good conversation to have today.
Can you tell us more about YTAR?
Okay, so I forgot that about my profile, right? So I'm also a recipient of the Yayasan Tunku Abdul Rahman Scholarship. So basically, it's a scholarship that is going to fund my bachelor's degree for about 2 years or plus. It's an amazing scholarship that I think is quite unique because a lot of these scholarships, they tend to have strictly academic requirements of a certain 3.5 CGPA to apply. But I think YTA is so unique because it looks into merits of leadership, inclusion, diversity, of how a Tunku scholar can contribute to the Malaysian community. I think that's the most amazing part of being a Tunku scholar. And the fact that it's a scholarship that emphasizes on development of scholars as well, in terms of whether they want to pursue something professionally, like taking a Mandarin language class or a sign language class, or something more that benefits their hobbies, like, bird watching, such as myself, that I enjoy to do. So it's an amazing opportunity to young people that benefits not only their academic, the support system that they need for their academic experience, but also for their own development and growth.
So basically, you're saying that YTA is focusing as heavily on soft skills as much as the grades?
Yes, definitely.
Which I think is very important right now.
Yeah.
We have very intelligent people who don't know what to do when they go to workspaces. So I think that's a good idea. Where we welcome the YTA scholar, and hopefully you can show us why the programs that you are joining is benefiting the community and the people in Malaysia. But today specifically, and me and Hazel, we've been talking about why. Okay, my first question would be, when we talk about climate change, right? Before human beings existed, and I'm sure that even after we are all gone, right, the climate will still change, right? The earth has been changing. So why is it so important for us to stop climate change since it's been going on for millions of years?
Definitely, and I think that's an important question to raise. Basically, the climate has always been changing about billions or millions years ago, but today the levels of climate that is changing is so unprecedented. It is strictly induced by human activities, right? Back then, dinosaurs were not responsible for fossil fuel emissions or basically all the unsustainable land use, right? They were just roaming the planet, right? But now we have humans who are contributing to the economy, relying on a lot of extraction, on exploitation. So the levels of the climate that is changing right now is so unprecedented and so fast as well. You can see that it is happening very hastily because of human-induced activities, from your fossil fuel combustion to your deforestation to your livestock emissions and so on. And the importance to see it as a crisis is because it is affecting not just us but also future generations and the planet that we rely on for food, for our homes, for our habitats, for our agriculture, for our economic growth. A lot of the things that we need, all the policies or all the resources that we need depend on the planet, and the planet right now is threatened by climate change, and sadly we don't have a planet B to opt for.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet, at least, yeah.
So Aidil, please talk to us like we are five lah. What other effects are we seeing other than the heat wave and the flood that you mentioned just now? What did climate change do?
And also, if I may, I think all of us would want to know, like, what are the effects that will most impact our daily lives as in our everyday lives?
Yeah, I think the conversation is correct about heat waves and floods, right? The floods that we're seeing in Malaysia are getting more extreme. And this is coupled by other factors as well, not just climate change. This can be waste clogging up drainage systems for flooding, unsustainable development in cities, the amount of land use that is being used for maybe palm oil monoculture or development or housing, right? So those things also contribute to flooding. So the problem is that climate change is not just a threat by itself, it's a multiplier threat. Right? It's going to basically exacerbate or worsen the current effects that we have from existing problems of environmental issues in Malaysia, right? So that's a huge issue. And now during Ramadan, for me personally, it was the most challenging Ramadan or puasa ever because of the amount of heat being put on, right? So it was really sort of like really not easy for me to navigate Ramadan because of the heat wave. And it's really unfortunate to see that recently a 22-year-old Malaysian died because of a heat stroke, right? So these are the effects that we're seeing. A lot of people think that climate change is a distant future problem. It is not. It is currently happening.
It's now.
It's now. It's not a future crisis. It's happening right now. But there are also other effects of climate change as well. You can see from, in terms of biodiversity, coral bleaching is one of it. When corals get exposed to a lot of the oceans getting warmer and oceans getting more acidic, corals get bleached. Marine life can't really survive because of warming oceans and the amount of carbon dioxide that's entering into our oceans, right? It's making the survivability of marine species very hard. Nowadays, fishermen are finding it hard to navigate their fisheries activities, right? Because fish patterns in terms of their migration or moving patterns are in different areas or in disarray, basically. What was in an ocean area, there are no longer fish abundance. So it's very difficult for fishermen to catch fish nowadays because of the changing sea patterns as well. So we're seeing those kind of effects not only affecting biodiversity, but the people who depend on them, such as our fishermen. And this can be seen as a reason why prices of maybe vegetables or fish are increasing, because these biodiversity species, whether they are vegetables that we depend on from Cameron Highlands or fish species, they are being affected by extreme weather events. So those things affect the living life of Malaysians on a daily basis, I would say.
Okay, so according to you, right, we have a lot. It's a multifaceted and a multi-pronged issue, right? Everything is connected with each other, right? But then we would say that on a daily basis, I think I can see two areas of focus lah. So one, as penduduk kita semua ni, rakyat Malaysia ni, right? We come together. What can we do to make it better, right? I would say that you would maybe say about awareness, advocating, right? But more importantly, from my part, I want to know, macam contohnya, aku pergi T-Life, aku beli air, they will give me a straw that will literally melt in 15 minutes, right? They charge me 20 cents for plastic bag, right? But we have, like, I come from a place in Bangi, right? Bangi, we have a factory where all the Coca-Cola things are made. And if you see the numbers Coca-Cola punya plastic, and apa, of course they use fossil fuels for their factory semua kan, right? And their numbers are increasing every year. So aku kena bayar 20 sen for my plastic. But these giants, these corporations, what are the policies, especially in Malaysia lah, specifically, that are implemented or is being implemented or the government is looking into to help us, if not solve, at least to soften the blow lah.
Yeah, when you talk about policies or laws, I think we have a lot of those to tackle different environmental issues. For example, like the Environmental Quality Act, that's recently just been amended, actually. It's just passed in Dewan Rakyat. This year. It has been amended. So the punishment is much more stiffer. Right now, it's mandatory imprisonment, right? Usually, I think corporations or these kind of big polluting tycoons, they can get away by just paying the fines, right? 500k is just what is it to them, right? But now because of the amendment of the Environmental Quality Act, I think the punishment fine has been increased to up to 10 million ringgit. And also mandatory imprisonment not exceeding 5 years. So that's really important. Mandatory imprisonment for polluters, right? Because give them actually jail time, right? To reflect and ponder what they've done.
So this is for polluters, corporations ke, or even public in general?
Public in general as well. So they look into degrees of how big the scale of pollution they've done. Like, one of the worst cases of pollution in Malaysia was in Sungai Kim Kim in Johor, right? Toxic pollution that closed down the schools. A lot of thousands of school children ended up in hospitals. Some of the children affected years ago are still reeling with the effects of those pollution today, right? So we have that kind of legislation. We have upcoming bills that I think I want to emphasize on. And I think it's really important that you talk to your politicians about it, you talk to your parents about it, you talk to your friends about it, is the climate change bill that's going to be hopefully formulated and established within 2 years, right? Around that. And also the National Adaptation Plan. So these are two policy and legislation that we need to focus on, and we need to have a more conversation about with our politicians, with our MPs, with our aduns, with our family members, because I think it's the right time to have a specific law on climate change and a specific policy on adapting to climate change. That's really important. And I've been doing this. I've sent out an email to my MP Wangsa Maju, Zahir Hassan. You have not replied. Your office has not replied yet.
Tak jawab please.
So please, right? Talk to your politicians. We need this bill to pass through Parliament and it becomes an act. And it needs to be done preferably in the next 2 years.
Can you elaborate more on what laws you want to imply in the bill?
Yeah, definitely. So I believe there are going to be different 7 provisions in the climate change bill. I've been fortunate enough to be a part of the climate change consultative panel with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability. So there are different provisions planned for the climate change bill: mitigation, adaptation, finance, governance, I believe CIPA, which is communication, education and public awareness, and other 2 provisions I don't remember. And I'm looking forward for the bill to make climate change as a mandatory syllabus in schools, right? So far we've learned it, of course, in geography, we learned it in science, but I believe we need to make it more comprehensive more climate smart in the terms of education, make it mandatory, and have the young people be more aware. And also, I'm really glad that the climate change bill wants to focus on climate change adaptation. So there are two things that are different: adaptation and mitigation. Mitigation is like you're planting your trees to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. You know, you're putting your solar panels.
Firefighting, like you're solving problems straight away,
right? But adapting is building resilience. It's about improving your drainage systems. It's protecting forests.
Sustainability, yes.
Yeah, it's improving community awareness about floods and heat waves. And I'm very glad that the climate change bill wants to focus on adaptation and that we are moving forward to plan the national adaptation plan, because I think Malaysia is not a large emitter country. We don't release huge amounts of greenhouse gas emissions compared to China, the US, the UK. But we are feeling the effects more disproportionately than these countries. So we have an obligation to say that yes, mitigation is important. Your solar panels, your carbon capture, your hydroelectric dams, they're all very good. Great. But we need, as a community, as a Malaysian society, to adapt, to be more prepared, to be resilient to the challenges of climate change.
Okay, so I think from your explanation, we can sort of understand that policies are there. We're taking the right steps, right? And hopefully this policies, this legislature, and you doing your part in advocating and spreading awareness will be moving towards the right direction, right? But I think Hazel has something that she wants to ask you, and I think it's very interesting. So Hazel?
No, actually, when you say we are going to the right path, right? Sempat ke? Are we too late? Is there like a point where there's no return and then one day we'll just eventually burn outside roasting?
Or everyone just move to Canada where it's cold and nice?
Well, when that happens, nowhere is safe, right? Yeah, nowhere is safe. Yeah, might not even be safe, right? We don't know. But I believe there's hope. I believe in the concept of climate optimism. It's so important. Nowadays, in the activism of climate change, everyone relies on doom and gloom, right? This is happening, right? We don't have enough time. The planet is dying. All true, right? But we have to basically put a sense of optimism and hope when it comes to climate change. That's super important for young people, especially, to see that they can see hope in the future. Not only from their politicians, but from their communities, from their leaders, from their peers. It's super important. And I personally believe that it's never too late. Yes, the current trajectory of emissions is unsustainable. The right amount of reduction of emissions, according to the IPCC, is about 7% reduction every year, but we're not hitting that target globally. But there is room for improvement. There is room for hope. Solar panels prices are dropping very low. Countries are adopting more cleaner energy. Communities are championing for climate justice. Recently in the US, there was a US court case in Montana where a bunch of young people decided to sue the state of Montana for basically breaching their rights to a clean and healthy environment from a fossil fuel extraction project, and they won. The court in US Montana decided to be in favor of those young kids and say that yes, if you continue with fossil fuel projects, you are breaching the rights of the Montanans to the rights of a healthy, clean, and sustainable environment. We're seeing those cases of young people, indigenous peoples, protecting their lands. So there's so many room for hope and successful stories. I believe in climate optimism. I believe in environmental victories. We have stopped the airport project that was going to happen in Pulau Tioman because of public pressure, right?
Okay.
PJD link highway is not going to happen because of public pressure. These things can happen. We are not going to roast. But if we are going to roast, the people, the polluters, the governments that are responsible for this are going to roast with us.
Yalah, tapi then that's not a situation that I want to happen.
Yeah, situation not going to be happen.
Mati sama-sama is not a good answer lah.
Yeah.
But okay, then adding on to that, right? Okay, there's hope, right? We are moving towards a better, we are taking the steps, awareness is going up, right? And baguslah kalau kau kata we can teach children in schools, right? But then my question would be, right, this is my own personal view lah. So if you tell me to turn off the faucet when I berus gigi, right, and yet we lose millions of liters of water through pipe bocor kan, orang curi air semua, right? Aku tak boleh pakai plastik tapi the landfills are filling up. Okay, you say Malaysia punya greenhouse emissions are not that high, but in terms of plastic production, we are number 1 in Southeast Asia, right? And in Asia, in Asia we're number 3, I guess. And ada Vietnam, ada Myanmar yang duk buat like they manufacture products for the whole world, right? China, of course, the greenhouse gases go up because all the first world countries production semua hantar kat sana, right? So manufacturing is there. So it's not as simply as you are the highest, you have to start, right? So I understand that. Tapi as a person, aku tutup pipe aku berus gigi tu, is it doing anything when in fact like macam the waste, 90% of plastic waste is corporations, right?
Yeah.
Tapi aku tak boleh pakai straw.
Yeah.
So how impactful is one person compared to like just stopping these corporation giants from doing bad things to the environment?
Yeah, it is all about choosing your battles rightly, correctly, basically. You can see individuals making a difference, like for example, Greta Thunberg, who decided to protest in front of the Swedish parliament, skipping schools every Friday and sparking a whole climate revolution, right? But choosing which individual actions that should matter the most is also important, right? And that's all about choosing a community as well. Becoming an individual and making an individual choice that is responsible and sustainable is really important. That's really important as well. You can lead a sustainable lifestyle and so on, but also finding a community that can help you make a collective difference. Whether you are lobbying something in parliament, whether you are pushing for a legislation against transboundary haze pollution with a coalition of other NGOs, find a space with a community. And I think that's the most important role that you can play as Malaysian.
Okay, so Hazel, dia kata kita kena buat sama-sama. We have to do this together. Tak boleh sorang-sorang.
So speaking of ourselves, right? Aidil, you yourself in your daily life, what are the things that you do to be so-called environment friendly?
Oh, okay. Well.
Oh wait, let me ask you, and then you say yes or no.
Oh. Yes. Actually, this is the trial question.
Do you use plastic straw?
I have. I have to be honest, I have. I've been caught once.
Caught once? What do you mean?
Caught once on Twitter, and it blew up, and everyone called me a fake environmentalist. And well, I've moved past it. You know, I practice whatever sustainability lifestyle that I can. I'm not a perfect environmentalist. I never said I was. But yes, to answer your question, yes, I did. And I think I still sometimes do, basically mistakenly, right? If you say like I don't want it, they'll just end up putting it still in the drink and whatever, right? Yeah.
Then do you use plastic bag when you buy stuff from stores?
I use the IKEA bag.
Oh.
Basically, for grocery shopping. I'm a fan of tote bags, but I do believe in the culture of giving tote bags needs to stop. We have enough tote bags to sustain everyone a sustainable lifestyle, right?
I think I saw a tweet where you literally flex on a tote bag, right? But they say that those reusable non-woven bags, right? The energy needed to produce one is equivalent to like 1,000 plastic bags. So
I'm not really sure about that. But I do want to emphasize that if you have one, it can last how many years, right? It can last a very long time compared to a plastic.
Tertinggal. Yeah. Old man like me forget.
Right. Noted, yeah.
Okay, next. Do you use AC a lot?
Yeah.
Oh, well, in this heat
panas.
wave, I do, but only at night. When I sleep, I
every night.
Every night. I'm in my house right now. But the thing is, the relation to hydrofluorocarbon related to AC has been phased out thanks to the Montreal Accord, which is a international treaty that is phasing out AC or refrigerator related hydrofluorocarbon. So actually that's an amazing environmental victory already. So nowadays we're not seeing much of environmental disastrous effects against the ozone layer or AC or refrigerator related type of environmental issues.
What he's saying is, dulu the peti sejuk and the aircons, they use greenhouse gases inside the aircon itself, right? The fluorocarbons in the radiator coolants, right? So now they are changing to more sustainable cooling fluids in the aircon and refrigerators lah.
So now it's less harmful.
Yeah, but the thing is like we need air condition a lot, right? And the amount of air conditioning that is put in offices and buildings and for development is just increasing, and that's going to double a lot. But I also believe, and hypocritically saying this, that we are Malaysians, we are a people of culture who can adapt to these kind of climatic situations, right? We are basically people who can basically live with this kind of weather.
Yeah, we are outside right now.
We are outside. Yeah, so
And I'm sweating
Yeah.
a lot.
and
Okay.
looking into different ways of developing buildings, whether it's like looking back at traditional Malay houses.
Please, yes.
Yeah, and so on,
I
and
think-
more trees around your compounds and so on. So I do
Architecture.
believe in that improvement to infrastructure, to housing, to reduce our dependency on air condition.
Yeah. Just a fun fact, right, Hazel? Cooling now accounts for, in some cities, it's 25% of the energy consumption of the whole city, just to cool the spaces that we are in. So meaning that 1/4 of the electricity produced in a city, I think this one is in India, but Malaysia pun is lebih kurang it's over 10%, 15% ke something like that. You will have to fact check me on this, but I mean, if we can reduce the dependency, right? We are living in boxes not designed for tropical climates, right? Rumah-rumah lama lah. Rumah orang Iban tu best gila, right? Sejuk kat
Tak
bawah,
pernah
sejuk kat
masuk.
tu. Really? Okay, never mind. Okay, so I think we see that you are just like us as well, right? You're trying your best, right? You're not perfect, right? Ada soalan-soalan lain tak you have? What do you think he does that we can discredit him? No. Now I think what we're gonna do is basically we want to know more about Aidil the person, right? Not Aidil the climate activist. Not Aidil the Waita scholar. We want Aidil bin.
Aidil bin Aidil.
Sorry. Okay. Kejap. Okay, no. I hold you ask lah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
Aidil.
So these are my tweets. Okay.
we have some tweets from yourself, right? So I think Hazel has some questions, right? So Hazel, if you may.
Oh, arson. Oh, okay.
What does this mean? What's the
Well,
context?
I think I was.
wait, it would be nicer if you hold it.
Well, I think I was replying to someone.
What was the question though?
But the actual arson is basically irresponsible companies that are burning peatlands to make way for palm oil plantations.
I see.
That's considered arson, right?
So this is the
Maybe this is the context. Maybe it's not. I don't remember.
So
I
you're
have
not talking about your hobbies.
I have no hobbies whatsoever. Throwing Molotov cocktails at buildings and people or whatever. But the actual arsons are the people burning peatlands, tropical rainforests to make way for palm oil monocultures, which is one of the leading causes of transboundary haze pollution. So,
Boycott arson?
boycott arson, yes.
Boycott arson.
Okay,
boycott the
boycott
burning
arson.
of peatlands.
Okay, it's not your hobby, eh?
Yeah.
We just wanted to
my
clear
hobby is
that.
bird watching.
Okay.
Okay,
Alright.
second one.
Oh my god. So this is, you think your dating life is sad? People match me on Tinder and ask if I can help them with their assignments on the environment. This is very true. All right, I've had many young people match with me on this dating applications and ask whether I can help their school assignments on SDGs, whether they can interview me on like their climate change project. But I'm also happy to do it for free.
You do it for free.
I always do. This is a little bit like boosting it up a little bit for anyone who's watching. I always do these kind of assignments for you for free. So if you are looking for an interviewee, you're looking for
a climate daddy.
Daddy,
this is your guy right here.
I'm happy to help you free of charge. I'm always happy to help students, and that's why I think I tweeted this, right? It was really frustrating because the person was really cute.
Aww.
And suddenly they said, "Oh, can you like help me with this project on my SDGs, on climate action, on SDG goals?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. So this is like, is the date happening? It's not happening, right? The date is not in the room with us." So I did decide to help them, and I believe a lot of the people that I helped with their assignments got good grades. So I would like to plug in myself a little bit shamelessly on that successful
positive impact on the grades.
But yeah, I've had many times of young people approaching me on dating applications asking if I can help with their assignments, and but that means they recognize you for your expertise.
You bring them good grades, but do you get good dates?
No, I don't know. Sadly, I've never been on a date with someone who has asked whether I can help with their assignment. Also, people not only ask about assignments, they ask about animals as well. People like send me pictures on these dating apps like, bro, what bird is this? Alright, they send me what animal
so
this is.
it's
like
on trees, right? Just to be clear, not their birds.
No.
Okay, so,
they're on
okay.
trees,
Okay.
or in the
Please
bushes.
don't,
So people also ask me to identify wildlife on dating applications many times. So yeah,
like they just recognize you. They're like, oh, that's the bird guy. Let's
send the text on the dating application. Yes, a few times. Yes.
But that's good though. I mean, to be known as someone who is
and then they open a conversation.
Okay lah.
Yeah.
Okay, but to everyone out there, I'll just say he is very open. If you just want to talk about environment, go on a date. Roger Aidil.
I have a partner already.
Dah ada ke? Aduh, korang dah lambat terlepas.
But I'm happy to help with your assignments. If you need any assistance with your climate change projects, your SDG projects, happy to help.
Is your partner one of the person?
No. My partner is in Vietnam.
Before we wrap things up, right? So what is the current battle that social climate warrior like you is undertaking right now?
So I just started a project called Jejak Lia, which is a youth citizen science project that is being funded by and being supported by Yayasan Tunku Abdul Rahman, my scholarship. So it is a project to basically help young people better identify the wildlife around them. So basically, we are improving species literacy or biodiversity identification skills. A lot of people always, when it comes to wildlife, they're like, oh, tu burung, or tu musang, or tu tikus, tu monyet, right? But these animals have specific names, right? We have like macaques. There are like beruk and kera in Malay, right? We have different bird species living in city situations like
urban
Kuala Lumpur.
areas.
So we want to make sure that young people are able to identify these wildlife by both their English name and their Malay name, right?
Why?
It's so important because I love this quote, and this is a quote by Laya Lia, which is a documentary project on YouTube. And their quote is that kalau kenal kita cinta, kalau kita cinta kita lindungi. Right? That's so important to me, to have that young people know their wildlife,
have a connection to it.
Have connection despite being in the city. So we're planning to do a young birders program where we are going to recruit hopefully about 25 young Malaysians who are interested in bird watching and bird conservation. So we're going to monitor the abundance of birds in certain areas of Kuala Lumpur and help them develop citizen science skills, be a part of a monitoring and data group of birds, but also just building up that love love for birds, basically. In fact, here is a nice place to hear birds. Like if you see here in the background, that's the Oriental magpie robin or burung murai kampung.
Shazam for
Right?
birds!
So it's a beautiful bird that sings, but it's also in danger, being threatened by the illegal songbird trade. So a lot of people like to capture these birds to put them in songbird competitions, keep them in cages for songbird purposes. So that's why we need to protect our birds. Birds don't get enough attention compared to Malayan tigers, Asian elephants, but they are the most visible and the most audible wildlife. So that's why I think we should have a stronger connection with these birds.
Does bird help with climate change?
Well, I believe so, very directly as well. So because some bird species like rhinoceros hornbills or hornbills in general are seed dispersers, right? They eat fruits and they poop the seeds or they throw the seed away and the seeds become tree. So a lot of these birds are basically really important and are good indicators of a healthy ecosystem.
So, in your personal opinion, right? So you say that a lot of people call you to ask what is this animal, what is that animal. So 2 questions: what animals do you have in your house? Do you keep pets or do you save animals? And secondly, what is the strangest animal that you've encountered?
Oh, okay. I do not have a wildlife in my house, if that was you're asking. I have a house pet cat. Just a normal cat named Coco. She's lovely. She's very manja, an amazing cat. Very luckily, she doesn't hunt the birds, right? So, because some cats will hunt birds because of their predatory instinct, right? But I do live in a fortunate area that has a garden. So my parents love to garden. And I love to garden as well. I usually just plant flowers to attract pollinators like butterflies and birds. So we've seen a lot of like birds from your yellow-vented bulbuls to your sunbirds to your merpati and all that. So they love visiting our gardens. What is the weirdest animal that I've seen maybe in my vicinity was a landa, a Malayan porcupine, stuck in our longkang. This was years ago.
Sedap tak?
So this was years ago, and and it wasn't actually my house. It was my neighbor's house, which was right across mine. And we saw a landa trapped in the longkang. I don't know what happened to that landa. I hope it was not cooked for rendang. Actually, people do cook rendang landa.
The best sort of pork.
Actually, landa is cooked for consumption. Fun fact, landa is associated with rodents, rats. They are also considered rodents. But yeah, that's like the weirdest animal I've seen.
They are the family of rodents?
Yeah, they are related to rodents. Okay.
Okay.
But they're not related to the SS15 rodents.
Okay. So,
right, hopefully not that.
Okay. So, I think that's it. Hazel, anything else that we want to ask our climate expert?
No. We're good. So that's it for our episode today. We are very looking forward for the climate change bill to be happening so that we can all work together as Malaysians to make our environment better to live in lah. Thank you for watching Garam Masalah. Please follow Chili Sauce for more current issue tambah pedas. Bye bye.